Hi, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about trailer brakes on 2014 Toyota Tundra. I just learned today that even though my Toyota Tundra came with a towing package and a nice little tow button, it just means that my truck only has a towing package and it does not necessarily have, or it actually does not have the trailer brakes control module on it. So I'm picking up a trailer tomorrow, and I learned that I have to have trailer brake controls because it's the law. So I drove around during lunchtime today trying to find a trailer brake controller, and this is what I found. A couple of videos I found online real quick that helped me out. Nothing tied to the exact module that I found. So that's why I'm making this video, to show you how I make this work. So in my truck, as you can see, I have the tow haul button. However, there's no trailer brake control module here or anywhere on this vehicle. So I purchased a couple of things, and believe me people, I live in a large city, and I've been scrambling all over the place today looking for these things. So if you live in a small town, I feel for you. I apologize if you run into this situation, but this is lack of preparation on my end. But anyways, at one auto parts store, I was able to find this, the REESE brake control, part number right there. And so this is just a brake control module. I went ahead and purchased, because I was having a hard time finding the harness, I purchased the universal harness that would match up to this, in case I couldn't find the exact match to plug into my vehicle. So this is my backup. I hope we don't have to use this. And then I went to a company called Granger, and I was able to find the OEM harness adapter, which fits, and it's made by the same manufacturer, REESE. And there's the part number right there. So there's the control module. And here's the harness that goes from the truck harness and to the control module. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this panel off, and I think I got to start by taking this off. Okay, that panel's off. And now I'm going to take this panel. I'm going to remove the floor mat, and then this pulls out. All right, so right up underneath here, so I'm underneath here. Sorry I don't have a flashlight, but I'm gonna point to it. Right there in this harness here, you can see it tied with a electrical tape is the connector that we plug into. So I'm gonna take that electrical tape off and expose the connector. I'm just gonna use a little paring knife here since I can't find my X-Acto blade. All right, so I've got it cut, and you can see it right there. There. And you can see it right here. So now that connection point is exposed and ready for connection. So I'm going to take the jumper harness, which I purchased, and the white end right here is going to connect to that. I went ahead and disconnected the main connector to my harness because the instructions told me to connect this device first. What I'm going to do is I'm going to electrically connect it because I wanted to make sure if it works and got all power and everything to it before I actually mount it to the vehicle. So here's a warning label on the white wire. So evidently the white wire should go straight to the negative of the battery, and I think that's what I'm going to do instead of a chassis ground. So let me see what this involves. I see it's powering up, and I don't see it's being intermittent at all, unless that means intermittent. So let me power it to the negative of the battery. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and run a negative wire from my battery negative all the way underneath the dash. Now, conveniently, through the firewall right there, you can see that grommet. There was already, somebody had installed a aftermarket alarm system, which I think is just tied into my factory alarm system now. But anyways, they have this wire loom already routed through there, and I'm going to take advantage of it and just route my wire all the way through there, which I've already started. I just kind of pushed it into the loom and I'm pushing it back. Come back over here and I can see my green wire coming out right there. See, there she is. All right, so I was gonna use like a butt splice to connect the negative wires together because I wanted to be able to disconnect, but I couldn't find the other end of my butt connectors. So what I did is I found an old Radio Shack terminal strip, and I just cut one end off just because I had it laying around in my garage, and I'll use this to connect the two wires together. And it will be removable, so in case I need to reroute the negative wire to best fit after I do the install, I'll at least have the capability of doing such. Strip the wire end off and twist the wires. Insert it into one side and go ahead and tighten the screw down. The same goes for the wire that we just routed through the firewall. I do not have it connected to the battery at this point. I'm just connecting the wire. All right, there we go. I have the negative wire from the harness connected to the negative wire. I'm routing straight to my battery. All right, so give yourself enough wire so that you can reach the negative terminal of your battery. Find yourself an eyelet terminal for the right gauge of wire that you're using. That will actually fit around the negative stud on the battery. Then go ahead and strip the end, crimp this onto the wire. Okay, now I've got my wire crimped. All right, so now I have the negative terminal on the negative wire onto the negative terminal of the battery, and I'm going to tuck this wire away so that it's out of the way. All right, so now with my new negative power connection, it looks like we don't have any blinking lights. Everything is nice and solid, so we have a good negative connection. And we have it wired in accordance with the way that this device wanted us to wire. So now that electrically it looks good, and I really can't test it anymore until I get a trailer connected to it, I'm going to go ahead and find a mounting location and route the wiring to where it's out of the way with tie wraps. So before I really start routing this, I'm going to go ahead and put these covers back on because I want these covers to be on so that I know that the wiring is going to be in its natural position when I start routing the wires. Okay, everything's snapped back into place. And yes, I apologize. I did not clean my carpet or the inside of my car. I'm in a rush to get this done because I'm picking up a trailer tomorrow. So I did the preliminary routing of the wires just to see how long that harness would go up so I can kind of gauge where I could position this module. So it looks like I have enough wire to position the module over here. One gentleman named Lyle on YouTube, and I'm going to put his link to YouTube on here. He actually bought a new console cover right here for a 2016 model, and he said it was really cheap. And it comes out with a cutout already for the control module. So later on, I'm going to probably buy the cover, but for right now, I'm going to go ahead and mount this bracket into the cover. So the kit came with some self-tapping screws, and I'm going to use these. Looks like you're going to need a 1/4 inch bit. Okay, so with that black bracket screwed into place, this control module can sit right there. This module, the display is actually a part of the module. And we get the screws for the side. On this side right here, I'm using my ratchet because my drill doesn't fit. So now that I have the module installed, I'm going to run the wires straight down like this because it seems like it's the least intrusive. I thought about coming up through here, but that just kind of looks ugly. I don't care how you put it. The whole thing looks ugly, but I have to do what I have to do to follow the rules of the road. So I'm gonna route it down this way because my harness will actually reach. As you can see, it's kind of drooping down, but I'm gonna route this harness up above my parking brake, below my steering column, and above it's like a fan shroud down here, and then I'm gonna zip tie. Okay, so I went ahead and routed the harness. I routed the harness straight up above this brake. It clears the bracket above the brake, so I can't really get a view up in here. So I routed it up over this brake, and then it loops down to right here, and I zip tie it. There's a little bracket right behind here. I zip tied it right here. And what I did here, I did this because it clears the steering column linkage when it turns, so it won't make contact with that. And then I routed it all the way back up over an intake shroud from my AC, or it might be, you can kind of see it there. And I actually zip tied it to that shroud. So there's only 2 zip ties, one right there, one right there, and it clears everything. And as you can see, the connector reaches right where I need it to reach. Next, go ahead and put your floor mat back in. I went ahead and took this, just a little bit of excess wire, and I kind of tucked it in between this panel and this panel. Doesn't really matter, but I just did. You can still see the wires, but just go ahead and tap your brakes, and the dot indicates that there is no trailer hooked up, which is correct. So and from here on, folks, the module is installed. Maybe one day I'll get the OEM module, but for right now this is going to work just fine. This thing cost me 80 bucks, and the harness cost me 20 bucks. So you're looking at 100 bucks. Not including this video recording time, I probably spent about 45 minutes installing this.